Welcome to my podcast. My name is Lindsay Deming, and I am currently a senior at Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania in Mansfield with a major in criminal justice. Today I will be discussing human trafficking, a global issue. Within this presentation, I have identified 3 countries with high human trafficking rates, as well as strategies that have been implemented to lower the amount of human trafficking that occurs. Trafficking is a serious crime and human rights violation where people are exploited for labor, services, or commercial sex through force. The force used includes physical violence or threats. Fraud that is used includes false promises, fake jobs or opportunities. And coercion used includes psychological pressure, manipulation, or threats. The main types of human trafficking include sex trafficking, labor trafficking, and child trafficking. Sex trafficking is when people are forced or manipulated into prostitution or sexual exploitation. Labor trafficking is when victims are forced to work in places like farms, factories, construction, or domestic work without fair pay or freedom. Child trafficking is any exploitation of minors for labor, sex, and this could include with or without force. In the United States, human trafficking is a complex crime that affects every state and involves both domestic citizens as well as foreign citizens. Data from 2024 and 2025 reveals a significant breakdown in how these crimes manifest across the country. The National Human Trafficking Hotline and other federal agencies categorize cases into 2 primary forms: sex trafficking and labor trafficking. Sex trafficking continues to be the most frequently reported type. In 2024, the hotline reported 6,647 sex trafficking situations. Federal civil litigation also saw a record 209 sex trafficking cases filed in 2024. Labor trafficking is often under-identified compared to sex trafficking. In 2024, 2,220 labor trafficking situations were reported to the hotline. 75% of the victims are females. In 2024, the hotline identified 8,359 victims with 1,952 male victims. Minors are highly vulnerable. About 40% of victims in 2024 were children. The average age a young person enters sex trafficking is 12 years old. Common risks that increase the likelihood of being entered into sex trafficking include poverty, lack of English language, and unstable housing. Perpetrator demographics include 92% of those are males and 96% are U.S. citizens. Traffickers can be family members, romantic partners, or strangers, and they often exploit victims through emotional or economic abuse. In Pakistan, there are 4 main categories of trafficking within Pakistan. These include bonded labor, sex trafficking, child exploitation, transnational trafficking. Bonded labor is the largest human trafficking problem within the country. Sex trafficking is of women and children, with reports indicating bride trafficking schemes, where hundreds of Pakistani girls are lured into fraudulent marriages and then exploited in countries like China. Children are kidnapped or sold into organized begging gangs and forced in small shops or agricultures. Approximately 70% of bonded labor in Pakistan is estimated to be children. Vulnerable populations of human trafficking in Pakistan include refugees and stateless persons. Afghan refugees, estimated at 2.5 million, and stateless groups are forced into labor. Religious and ethnic minorities are represented among bonded labor. Migrants, individuals attempting to migrate via irregular routes, such as those traveling through Libya and Europe, are highly vulnerable to extortion and death during dangerous crossing. Pakistan passed the PTPA, Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act, in 2018, which criminalizes sex and labor trafficking. In 2025, amendments further increased penalties, and removed options for fines in lieu of prison for certain crimes. Authorities reported identifying 37,303 trafficking victims and convicting 495 traffickers under PTPA. Mexico is currently ranked as a Tier 2 country by the U.S. State Department as of the 2025 reporting cycle. This means that while the government does not fully meet the minimum standards for eliminating trafficking, it is making significant efforts to do so. Recent data shows a sharp 45% increase in reported human trafficking cases, rising from 794 in 2024 to 1,150 in 2025. The three main types of trafficking in Mexico include sex trafficking, forced labor, and forced criminality. Sex trafficking often occurs near tourist hubs and bordering cities. Women and children are the primary victims. Experts believe the scale of forced labor may surpass forced prostitution in Mexico. Victims are exploited in agriculture, construction, domestic servitude, street vending, and begging. Organized criminal groups and cartels force victims, including children, to work as lookouts, smuggling mules, hitmen, or in the production and transportation of drugs. Vulnerable populations include migrants and asylum seekers. These are individuals moving through Mexico to reach the United States. They are highly vulnerable to kidnapping, extortion, and forced labor by criminal networks. Women and children represent 75% of the identifying trafficking victims. Children are increasingly recruited through technology for exploitation of criminal industries. And human trafficking globally. The amount of total victims have an estimate ranging between 27.6 million in situations of forced labor and sex trafficking to 50 million when including forced marriages. Illegal profits. Human trafficking is one of the most lucrative criminal industries, generating an estimated 150 billion to 236 billion in illegal profits annually. There are approximately 3.5 to 5.4 victims for every 1,000 people in the world. Women and children remain the most targeted, making up 61 to 71% of all victims globally. Children account for 1 in every 3 or 4 detected victims. Recruiting is increasingly moving to online, with 25% of cases now starting on social media or through fake job advertisements. Most trafficking occurs close to home. 58 to 65% of victims are exploited within their own national borders. Human trafficking. Extreme economic vulnerability. Lack of access to education and jobs remains the most significant risk factors. Families in desperate financial situations are more likely to accept risky job offers that lead to exploitation. Conflict and displacement. There are over 122 displaced people in 2024 due to armed conflicts and persecution. Displaced individuals often lack legal status, making them easy targets for traffickers who promise safety and work. Climate change and natural disasters. Climate-related disasters displaced nearly 24 million people in 2021 alone. Survivors often enter the informal sector for work, where they are highly vulnerable for recruitment by traffickers. Digital transformation. Traffickers use social media, dating apps, and online advertisements to groom and recruit victims from the safety of their homes. Weak rule of law and official complicity. Human trafficking generates an estimated 150 billion to 236 billion annually. Because it is often underreported and has low conviction rates, it remains a low-risk venture for criminals. To end human trafficking. Efforts to end human trafficking in 2025 and 2026 have shifted towards the four-pillar strategy: prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnership. Legislation and policy action. Frederick Douglass Reauthorization Act of 2025. This U.S. bill reauthorizes critical anti-trafficking programs through FY 2029, specifically targeting international trafficking and organ removal, while launching new programs to help victims reintegrate into society. National Human Trafficking Database Act 2025. Recent federal legislation aims to establish a national online database to collect comprehensive trafficking data across all states, improving the ability to track and respond to trends. Operation Libertaria 3. In a massive 2025-2026 Interpol coordinated effect across 119 countries, authorities made 3,744 arrests and safeguarded 4,400 potential victims. Social media monitoring. New tools detected suspicious job advertisements and harmful growing conversations in real time, allowing for swifter intervention before exploitation occurs. Survivor-led models. Governments are moving towards national referral mechanisms that grant victims immediate access to housing, legal aid, and health services without requiring them to cooperate with law enforcement first. Blue Campaign. This is a national awareness program that continues to train industry partners, such as airline cabin crews and truck drivers, to recognize indicators of trafficking in everyday settings. What can we do? Know the signs. Look for the physical signs, signs of physical abuse, malnourishment, or appearing drugged or disoriented. Look for people with restricted freedom, someone who is rarely alone, someone who has their ID or passport held by someone else, or that they seem coached. Checking supply chains. Use tools like Slavery Footprint to see how many forced labor likely continued to the products that you own. Buying fair trade. Prioritize products, especially coffee, chocolate, and clothing, with fair trade or certified B Corp labels. If you are in the healthcare or social worker, learn the specific indicators for patients or clients who may be under the control of traffickers. Educators. Teach students about online safety, as traffickers frequently use social media and gaming platforms for grooming. Donate to volunteer in local shelters that provide specialized housing, legal aid, and trauma-informed care for survivors. Offer membership. Misinformation, like white van myths or viral social media hoax, often distract from the real, quieter signs of trafficking. Share official resources. Advocate by contacting your local representative to support legislation that increases funding for survivor services and strengthen labor laws. Thank you guys so much for listening to my podcast.